Well, it's finally happened after years of resisting. I have fallen to the gacha and I am now hooked on Honkai Star Rail. Welcome back, everyone. Pardon the new set, the new sound. I'm actually still in Taiwan right now, and I'm in actually my guest bedroom. I have just finished a very important milestone in Honkai Star Rail, which is a turn-based RPG, which you can play on PC and mobile. And I needed to record this video because I have to share my thoughts. I just finished basically the first major story arc of the game, which ends on such a high note, which I won't spoil for anyone who hasn't played the game yet. And I just had to get my thoughts out because there was no way I was going to wait until I go back to Canada in about a week and a half to record this video because I couldn't continue playing the game until I just brain dumped my first impressions on this. So this video is going to cover a few things. I want to talk about one, gachas, why I got drawn to it, why I'm actually playing a gacha game. I find they can be very controversial. I used to be at the camp where I was very anti-gacha and I hated those types of games. And now I've kind of flipped to the other side where, I don't love them, but when played responsibly, they do offer a different kind of experience that other games don't have. And when you compare a gacha game to a traditional game, you can easily say, oh, it's full of like manipulative behavior, it's toxic, it's bad, all of which I won't fight you on, because at the end of the day, gacha games are gambling and always has to be done very carefully. It's very easy to lose a lot of money in gambling. It's easy to lose yourself. But if you have restraint and you can play like within your parameters, then it can be very fun. And I always like to compare it to trading card games. When I was a kid, I used to buy trading cards every week. And, that's essentially gambling. You're buying a booster pack. You don't know what you're getting inside. But anyways, we're going to talk about gacha games, why I specifically have fallen into it and why I enjoy it. And I also want to share my first thoughts about Honkai Star Rail and why I think it's actually a good game. And it really balances the line properly of what I think, how to implement gacha mobile games into a good turn-based RPG. Now, some history of me and miHoYo. I've never, which is the company that developed Honkai Star Rail, I've only really played Genshin Impact, like when it first came out and everybody was calling it Breath of the Waifu because it was being compared to Breath of the Wild at the time. It was okay for a while, but honestly, the characters I found kind of annoying, the gameplay was kind of meh, and the story just didn't pull me in. So at the end of the day, I just couldn't get into it. Honkai Star Rail, the main reason I got back into it was, one, I was actually looking for a gacha game, and two, I was really attracted by the turn-based RPG style that it has. I grew up on turn-based RPG, which was my favorite style of RPG, so love that formula. Now let me take you back. I'm traveling through Asia right now, in Japan and Taiwan, and so I am surrounded by gacha mechanics and gameplay. Like here in, specifically in Japan, it's so hard to like buy what you want in a lot of cases because there's so many things that are tied behind lotteries. For example, Nintendo Museum has just opened up. I wanted to go see it. I wanted to buy a ticket and I couldn't because you have to first gamble for the chance to have the right to purchase the ticket. And then, there's all those gacha machines, which is like, you put a coin in it, you don't know what you're gonna get. That is gacha, like in its original form. And so there's so many things around here, which is like, I guess I'll just put like another dollar, let's see if I can get it. And it has that fun aspect of booster packs, which also my trip coincides with almost the release of Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is a whole other gacha game which has pulled me in. Like I said, I used to be really big into trading cards. As a kid, I would buy, 1-2 packs a week. And that was actually not that crazy of a spend for like a teenager with a part-time job. I could actually afford that. And I left all that behind because whatever, I got into other hobbies. Recently, I tried to get back into TCGs. And I was like, oh my goodness, these things are so expensive. You're spending here in Canada like $6-7 a pack. And I started like after my first visit to a card shop, I spent $50. I was like, okay, if I want to get into these games seriously, I'm easily looking at $100 to $200 additional spend to support this hobby per month. And I was not about that. I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, especially now that I've been spoiled with Monster Hunter, where I spend $60 and I get 1,000 hours of gameplay out of it. I just can't do that with TCGs. I'm going on a tangent here, but stay with me. We're gonna get back to why this applies to Honkai. So anyways, when Pokemon TCG Pocket came out, it gave me what I needed, a free-to-play booster pack opening game. And I loved it. Every day I would open up my packs. I would get that like dopamine rush of opening packs without losing money. And then after a while, I was like, well, I need more dopamine hit. What the heck? I'm only getting like 2 hits a day because that's all you can open with your packs without spending money. And I was traveling with a friend who they're really into gacha games and they love it. I was talking to them. I said, aren't you worried that you're just going to end up losing a bunch of money? And they said, well, I have a budget in mind of how much I'm willing to spend on these games a month. And I thought of that and I said, well, there's a lot of things in life that I manage my budget. I was like, I guess that makes sense. If I'm saying, okay, I will only spend $20 on X game per month, I have that discipline to do that. So I'm like, okay, well, let's try this Honkai game, because I was stuck on my phone. I couldn't play any kind of like PC games. I have no controller. I'm like turn-based RPG though, where it's just inputting commands and a little bit of movement with like a joystick, which is just rubbing a screen, which I hate that feeling. I'm like, okay, I could do this on my trip. And I got into it, and that's why it worked. I actually really want to play this game on PC though, so I can play with a proper controller. And then another element is they were promoting at the time in Honkai Star Rail a new character called, I don't know if she's new or whatever, but the featured event character was, I think her name was Akron, which is like this really like badass samurai girl. And I'm just like, well, I don't know if she's a samurai girl, but she has a katana. So I was like, I want to play as this character in this game. And so that was my gacha hook. Long story short, I invested all of my in-game resources to try to pull her, and I did not get her because it's hard to pull the event thing. These things are designed to get you to spend money. So now I have to like wait another year until she comes back. But luckily the game is fun, and so I'm actually enjoying playing the game while I wait to get my character. So now here's the review of the thing. So, the first impression of the game, as soon as you boot it up, the title screen starts off with what I want of an RPG. It's like a peaceful, serene start, and you got like this train going through space. And I'm a sucker for train. I really love trains. I even made, I don't know if it's on, yeah, it is on this channel. I made like a top 10 trains in video games video that you guys should check out. It's from way back when. And then, I have my prejudices around these games and what kind of audience they attract and who they're for. And of course, the game opens up with two characters called Kefka and Silverwolf talking about something that I have no context of what's going on. They're on a space station, and basically, let's just call her mommy waifu and little girl waifu, because I'm realizing that there's basically stereotypes to the characters that fall into like a mommy category, a little girl category, cutesy girl category. Sometimes they interchange cutesy mommy, cutesy little girl. All I can say is the little girl category is not for me. Like, I just find the little girl voices annoying. So all of the little girls in the games, I do not put in my party, even if they are amazing. I just don't like their voices. So anyways, story-wise, yeah, we get introduced to the mommy waifu and the little girl waifu, and then, not waifu, the little girl. They're talking about this thing called a Stellaron and putting it into a person, a human. And then this is kind of what sets up the story of your main character and who you are. You're basically one of the first known humans to have a Stellaron, which is like an energy source of some kind, which honestly, like, you're gonna hear me say this a lot in this video, I'm confused. I don't understand what's going on. The story, for the most part, is really confusing to me, and I suspect I could appreciate more if I played the prequel to this game, which is, so I did a bit of research into this, and apparently you don't need to play the prequel to play Honkai Star Rail, but there are references, and people have explained it to me like it's almost like the Nier games, where they're within the same universe, but they're different characters and different settings and all of that. We start in a space station that's under attack by these things that are coming through portals, and you're like, who am I? Where am I from? And everyone's like, help us, and you've got like a superpower. And anyways, you end up saving the space station called like the Herta space station. And where the story for me got really interesting is, eventually you get to meet some people on the space station. You learn that they're doing research there, from what I understand. And then you eventually board the Star Rail Express, which is like the space train, with the party that you encountered at the space station. These people were like, I don't know, passing through. Or what's important is the first big story beat is when you get to know your crew. You start going on this adventure to, I think, investigate Stellarons or seal Stellarons around the world, around the universe. And you end up going to this first planet, which is like an ice planet. And you go there and you start learning about this world's history, that it was a world that had like an apocalyptic event, and there's this like a constant blizzard that's basically killing the civilization of the world. And now they're down to one city where the city has divided itself into class. There's like the upper class that lives above the ground, and then there's like a lower class that lives underground, which is suppressed by the upper class. And they send all their resources up to the upper world. It reminds me a lot of Alita Battle Angel, which is also another good movie I really enjoyed. Where are my notes? So anyways, in this planet, you're basically getting involved in the local politics. You're getting to meet new characters and understand what's going on in this world, how the Stellaron's playing, and you're basically trying to find a way to discover the Stellaron so you can seal it. And through this, I don't want to spoil anything, but you're basically uncovering a very rich history and world. And this is one thing I think Honkai Star Rail does very good, is they really flesh out their worlds and their lore to the point where if you want more than what the main story has to offer, there's so much there for you to find. And I'm not one of those people that will dig and try to go to like all of the layers of lore, but this game has that. All of this culminates, and this is the part where I have to be careful not to spoil it, because this is like the peak. This is an experience I was not expecting to get out of a gacha game. That whole story arc ends with a boss fight. I mean, that's not a spoiler. We all know that boss fight happens. And the way that this boss fight was designed was absolutely stunning. Like, you're finally meeting this boss fight, which things have been building up to. You've now formed a stronger bond with your team, and your main character basically takes on this boss. There's cutscenes that really builds up the energy of the battle, and for the first time, I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not enough to ruin things, there is just an amazing song that drops, and I will not reveal elements of this song, but the song drops, and it's like, this is the fight, this is the like moment that you're gonna have an impact on the world, and something major happens to your main character that transforms them, and it just, so many layers of satisfaction for the player. It really rewards the player for having invested in the story and played up to this point. And that's what I love. And I think that that is a payoff that is very important. And it shows that the developers of the game cared enough. And it's not just a cheap cash grab of like, here's a game, give us money, here's some waifus and husbandos, and go on. No, it's actually a good story with good elements that makes you feel things, like, you know, gives you goosebumps, like a good RPG should. So that's what I really want to share before I moved on. For those of you who have played Honkai Star Rail, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about the scene, the final boss, and the music, and the crescendo, and how they do it. I will gladly talk about this with you in my Discord in a spoiler channel so we can like fully flesh it out. Yeah, I'll open up a temporary Honkai Star Rail spoiler channel, and we can talk about where I'm up to in the game there openly in Discord. Look for a link for that in the description below. So outside of the story, I really want to talk about the gameplay as well, because again, talking about confusion in this game does not lay things out the way a traditional RPG does. A game like Honkai is a living, breathing game that is constantly having updates to the game. They're adding mini games, little features and things. And so I can feel that sometimes like the game, I think, expects me, the player, to have been more well-versed with the characters when some things happen. And I don't know what was the experience at 1.0 versus when I'm joining now, which is I think 2 point something. So all that to say is they're throwing a lot at me that is not always easy to understand. But hey, Monster Hunter does that too, and we figure our way out just fine through that. Now, for those who are wondering where I'm at in the game from a level standpoint, so you as the player, the account holder, you level up as you do anything in the game. Anything you do gives you experience, and that is your Trailblazer level, and mine is at 27. I don't know how high it goes. Let's talk about leveling. So in a typical RPG, you are basically killing things, completing things to gather experience points. You level up, that's it. This game, my goodness, there are so much leveling elements to it. I could honestly, I need a tutorial for it, and I will have to look it up, because so your character levels up, and I think they level up the more you kill things, like a traditional RPG does. But you can't really rely on that. What you want to do is you want to be leveling up using items that you get from also completing quests. And every 10 levels, the first 20 levels, you get blocked. And you can't level up your character beyond level 20 unless you get a special item, which is usually locked behind a main story element. And then you have to ascend your level, ascend your character. When you ascend them, that lets you level them up to like level 30. It's similar in concept to the Pokemon leveling thing, where it's like you can't level up your Pokemon past a certain level unless you get a badge. But then you get weapons, which is also part of the gacha mechanic of pulling random elements. So not only can you pull characters, you pull weapons called light cones, which is the most confusing thing ever. They look like books. They're not even cones. I have no idea why they call them light cones. These things give your character added elements, added defense, added strength, added HP, everything. And you can level those up. So you can level up the weapon, you can level up the character, and you have to ascend your light cones as well. And then when you get a bunch of light cones, you can merge them to make your light cone even stronger, from a 3-star to a 4-star. This is not the place where I'm going to teach you how to do it, because I can't understand it. I just go auto add on everything and let the game automate as much of it as it can for me. So the next is the traces, which reminds me a lot of a skill tree, where you can basically level up like certain features of your character. That also requires special items to do. Then you have relics that eventually unlocks, which is like equipment slots. And those are just items that you plug into your character to, again, buff them, and you can level up your relics and merge them and do all sorts of stuff there. And then finally you have eidolons, which are aspects of your character that you can also level up, which makes your abilities stronger. So your main character pretty much level up their eidolons just as progressing the story. You'll get the item you need to upgrade your eidolon, and then every other character you basically have to pull duplicates from the gacha pool. So as you pull duplicates, you basically unlock one level of eidolon, and I think there's 6 levels per character. So all of that means you get a ton of items that results in a huge inventory, and item management is not my strong suit. So half the time I don't know what's going on. All I'm doing is like auto max, but a more careful player could definitely look into optimizing things. And I think it becomes more important at the end of the game. Where I'm at now, oftentimes if I'm missing an item, you can click on the item and the game will tell you where you can find the specific item, like, oh, go do these types of quests, go do this, and that's where you can get drops of this item. So the game does make it easy to find what it is you need. Character pulling is the next element I want to talk about, which is a pretty major feature of gacha games, which is you consume these items to, have a chance of pulling a character. And this is really how the games make money. There's a lot of in-game currency you can use where you never have to spend money. But what happens is after you pull, your instinct is like, I really want this character and I'm going to throw some money at it. So like, for example, for me that wanted Akron, I hope that's her name. She was a special event character, which means she was rotating out. When I started the game, I had 8 days to get her. And she has a 0.6% chance of being pulled. And there's like a 50% chance. I don't want to get lost in the percentage. The point is, it is very hard to pull her. What I can appreciate about Honkai is they do eventually just give you the character after 90 pulls, which is a heck of a lot of pulls. I mean, if you want to calculate how much money that would be or how much time it is, it's a pretty significant amount. But it's nice that the game actually eventually just says, you've tried so much here, just take it. I find outside of, wanting that one character that I really want, the game gave me a lot of resources to get kind of a base team assembled. And I'm really happy with the assortment of characters I have available from the start of just pulling with all the resources the game has given me. So this is one point where I'm at in the game right now, I don't feel pressured to spend money, and I think that is also really helping my experience with the game. This video is getting pretty long. I don't want to go too much longer, but there are some quirks I wanted to highlight about the game, which I have found really enjoyable about the games, like little quality of life things that make this more enjoyable. The game, every time you log in every day, you're going to get like text messages from your party members about just like little things that really fleshes out their personality and their character. I find that's a really nice touch to help you get closer and more connected with the characters. Achievements, I'm a sucker for achievements. This game has like almost 1,000, if not more, achievements for doing just about anything in the game. I've almost got 100 already accumulated. They're just like fun little things if you enjoy collecting. Speaking of collecting, there are 2 things that are really fun to do if you're like all about exploring maps. You can collect lore, like you'll just find notebooks and paperwork just like sorted that you can just collect. And there's a tracker in your inventory somewhere that says like, oh, in this region, there's like 90 pieces of lore to find. And then there's a treasure chest tracker. So in a region, it'll say, there's 10 treasure chests that you can find here. So those like collection elements, I love. There's a whole bunch of like game elements that they just keep throwing into it, and I'm just scratching the surface as a new player. But like, I know that there's a battle pass in there, which honestly, they really don't market hard. I keep forgetting that it's even in there. You get daily missions, so there's always like something new to do. They just dropped in the latest update a whole home decor minigame, which consumed like an entire like evening for me because I just had so much fun playing it, and had nothing to do with the main quest, had nothing to do with the main mechanic. It was like a card game kind of thing, and you would get rewarded with cleaning up your room, which was a new room you got, so you were like decluttering and then adding furniture, and now I have my full room set up. It's crazy, it's ridiculous. And I saw that there's a whole list of mini games that I just haven't unlocked yet. So this game has just so much to keep you hooked and keep you coming back every day. It's kind of crazy. And finally, I just want to share some updates on my team for those who actually play the game and who are curious of who I play as and all of that. So in my usual party right now, I of course keep my main character. I keep March 7th because she's great for putting up shields on all my characters. Branya, which I have been told is like one of the best 5-star characters you can have. She's good as a support character as well, so I keep her there. And Himiko, and that is dependent on where I'm at. So, and that's been working out pretty good for me so far. So I feel like all this, we're gonna take it back to Monster Hunter, because everything on this channel is related to Monster Hunter at this point. The new, basically free-to-play Monster Hunter game that's coming out by Tencent, by Timmy, I think is going to use a lot of elements that I am seeing in MiHoYo games. And so if they do it right, the way that I think Honkai Star Rail does turn-based RPG games right, I think we're going to be in for a good treat. And I think it's not going to be for everyone, and I think it's completely fine to have an IP exist in different genres, just like how there's a Monster Hunter puzzle game for phones that people are like, who cares, I don't love puzzle games. Great, but there's some people that love puzzle games and that love Monster Hunter that get to do that. So I don't know if what you guys will think of this, but I would actually enjoy a gacha Monster Hunter game, because at the end of the day, it's there for those who like it, and it's there if you don't like it, you just don't have to play it. So yeah, let me know if you do play Honkai, what your thoughts are on it. If you play other gacha games, which ones you think really do gacha well, how Honkai compares to that. And if you're comparing any of this to the new Monster Hunter game that's going to be coming out, what are your thoughts, concerns, or excitements about it? Let me know. This is a great topic. It's not one I really talk about on the channel. It's like I've opened a whole new door to like a whole new kind of community and gameplay, and now I'm just kind of absorbing this. So let me know, and let me know too if you want me to keep covering this game as I progress. If there's enough interest in this video, I'll make a follow-up as I continue through the story. But otherwise, there are my first impressions of Honkai Star Rail. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, keep it classy.